was I asked the guy, I was like, did you grow up religious? He's like, I went to church once. So that was funny. But my family was late to church every Sunday. We were always that family that like came in like the back third row, and my dad was like, yeah, can you just scoot over? Yes, just scoot over a little bit. Yeah, there's 4 of us. 4. Yeah, scoot over. Josh, get in here. Shut up. Ben, shut up. And we sat there. I mean, there were times when we got there almost halfway through the gospel, but that counted in our family. Anyway, it's the Positivity Report. It's Thursday. We got a teacher feature today with Zack Hartsman of Hey Listen Games. He'll be in about 10 minutes. Very, very excited to talk to him. There are a lot of emails in my inboxes from teachers, and I know I have to get to all of you. We're going to feature one teacher a week. There's so many great teachers out there, and I want to feature as many as I can. So maybe we'll do shorter interviews, maybe twice a week. Still figuring out some It's an evolving show. We're gonna make it happen. The good news is, as part of evolving show, is that the internet is working today. The internet is working. It wasn't working when we walked in. And Ikaika, can you give the fans the face you made when I walked in the door? Go ahead. Give them the face. Go ahead. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the internet is down face. Somebody wants to screen grab that and use that as just use that as a GIF. Go ahead. Yep. Now here's what I thought happened, Ikaika, is that this morning I thought when I walked in, you were like, and the crock pot had caught on fire. Because I will tell you, last night at I go to sleep about 10:30, 11 every night, okay? And last night at about 1:30, 2 o'clock, I looked at Amanda sleeping, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I should just go make sure the crock pot's okay. I'm very protective of this crock pot, and I haven't left a soup or anything on low for like 15 hours before, which I did last night. Everything is fine. I walked in, and guess what? Hit that. The split pea and ham soup is ready to be eaten. It only took 18 hours, but we did it. I figured out that I've only really cooked the split pea and ham soup in an actual pot over an open flame. And apparently, open flames are hotter than a crock pot. So, yes, Ikaika with the paddle.
What we could do is get a ring camera and just put it on the inside so you can see, like a baby monitor almost.
It's a pretty good call. As somebody who just installed a baby monitor, I'm a fan of this idea. You could also cut to like creepy shots on the Twitch stream when we're doing the hot crock pot, and it's that whatever that is, that. What is it, sepia tone? Whatever that night vision look is when you're looking at a baby monitor. And I got to tell you, like, a funny story is I saw a guy at a bar one time with a baby monitor, and I looked at him. He's like, I live right around the corner. I'm just making sure the baby's okay. I wanted to have a beer. I was like, hey, man, I'm not judging you. I think it's absolutely genius. You need to run home. At least you know that your baby's okay. That's sort of responsible parenting. Anyway, this is the Positivity Report. We appreciate all of you in the chat. If you want to support the show, you can Streamlab. You can go to streamlabs.com/goodpeoplegpa. You can super chat right here on the YouTube. You can also go to the GPA.fun. That's our website. Join the Bucket Club. There's also the Social Club and the Fun Club. Bucket Club gets you behind the paywall for all that fun stuff. We're going to do big live events, maybe our first drink up this Friday, which is tomorrow. Also tomorrow on the show. I've been saying it all week. Okay. Mark Ellis is going to be here. Very excited. His first Positivity Report. But also, live from upstate New York at, I want to get this website all the time, raisingthewildny.com, raisingthewildny.com. It's Beeve. Beeve is going to be joining us via camera with Nancy. She runs a wildlife rehabilitation spot in upstate New York. I'm so excited to talk to Beeve and to Nancy because I've fallen in love with Beaver Baby Furry Love on Instagram and on TikTok is where we found him, on TikTok. And this is the cutest beaver in the whole world. And every time I say beaver, I understand that everybody gets a little bit of a giggle. There's a giggle. I get it. There's a giggle. But we're very excited to bring Beeve in here on a Friday. It's a great birthday present, almost as good as the birthday present that Ikaika Shively got me yesterday. I brought it home, and Amanda's like, did you cry when he gave it to you? I was like, a little bit. just a little bit. But it's awesome. And I sent it to my cousins, and they were like, it makes no sense, but we're so excited about it. Go ahead, Ikaika.
I mean, battle. If anyone wants to do it, like, you can create your own shirts through, I think it was through NFL Shop. They have things for men.
Okay.
And not just the men. but the women and the children too.
You have 2 prequel sound bites in there. And guys, next week we're going to start introducing a bunch of sound bites. Ikaika is collecting them. We're going to get Seinfeld. We're going to get Friends. Parks and Recreation. We're going to get some Schitt's Creek in there. We're going to get The Rock. Bad Boys 2. If you guys have, here's the thing. I'll implore you. This is a fan's show. I want to, listen, Garrett Farney sent in the dad joke of the day. He didn't know he did it, but he sent in the dad joke of the day, which we'll get to later in the show. If you have sound bites that you want to be featured on this program that isn't ones from Collider Live that I hated. There were some that I loved, but I think you know the one that I hated. That's not going to be ever going to be on this show. So you can put that in your pocket.
You got to have faith, player.
Yeah, you got to have faith, player. I think that's Bad Boys 1. That's got to be the first Bad Boys,
Yes.
right? Yeah. I think I know my Bad Boys and my Bad Boys 2 quotes. I feel like I could rattle off the whole movie of Bad Boys 2, at least give you all of the plot points without missing a scene. Anyway,
My wife to get my quality time.
that's definitely the first Bad Boys. That music in the background is very first Bad Boys, and second Bad Boys the whole time is ba 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 ba. Anyway, yeah. So we're gonna get some sound bites in here, but can you play this? Whenever I talk about the beach, we're gonna bring this one up.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Guys, it's been a real giggly week here at the Good People Association. It's been an emotional week, a giggly week. We've gone up and down with internet. We lost one of our favorite people, Graham Butler. So the charity that we're going to be focusing on soon, we're going to make a formal announcement, will be in honor of Graham Butler, one of the best, the king of the kilts, the Flying Badger. So again, today, Zack Hartsman is going to be on the show from he's going to be our teacher feature, his Hey Listen Games. He's a great dude. He's doing amazing things for children and education. We're going to talk about that. We're talking about some gaming, where you can find Zack at Hey Listen Games _ on Twitter, Hey Listen Games on, I'm getting a courtesy call. I should probably just put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Good call, Josh. Let's see. Okay, so this evening is the afternoons with Josh, Ken, and Amanda. That'll be at 4:30 Pacific. And then tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, Positivity Report. And then 4 p.m. Pacific, Josh Brady, Amanda Baldino versus Jake Baldino, a husband and wife battle. Next week, the week after Josh Brady, T-Bob Abear and his sister Cammie Abear, the Abear siblings, are going to go head-to-head in a Josh Brady. You might know T-Bob from radio in Baton Rouge, and Cammie owns an amazing fashion brand called Show Me Your Moo Moo. Hit me, Ikaika.
Oh, I'm just saying our guest.
Oh, our guest is here. Yes. All right. So, without further ado, he is a teacher, and he's an awesome dude. And this is the first time I'm meeting him, but he tweeted at me and then sent me an email. And I want to hear all about the things he's doing as an amazing teacher there in New York City. Zack Hartsman, everybody! Hey, Listen Games! Bring him
Hey,
in.
thanks for having me.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing all right. You know,
Yeah?
as good as we could realistically be doing.
Where are you in New York right now?
So I live in Manhattan.
Okay.
Usually I teach in the Bronx every day, but
Sure.
I've been remote teaching since last March
Right,
and
right.
probably through the rest of the year.
Really?
But like I live in Manhattan, but it doesn't feel like Manhattan 'cause I don't go anywhere
Right.
anymore, really.
Same as Los Angeles, man. It's the same
Yep.
same thing. What's remote teaching been like for you?
It is interesting. It's basically, I mean, I'm sure like any other job that's turned into remote, it's drastically changed
Right.
my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I still have my usual classes, but and we'll get into this more, but a lot of my students are over 18,
Okay.
and because of that, a lot of them have full-time jobs. So
Right.
I'll have a lot of them in my normal class time, but I'm texting with them until I go to sleep,
Sure.
because if they're not, I'm not gonna not give them credit because they can't be in class because they're working a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right. So it's become this long drawn out. I do less at one specific time,
Gotcha.
but I'm doing more like over the course of a day.
Okay. So like continuing education is kind of what we're talking about with the adults, or getting.
No, so it's my school's interesting. It's an international school.
Awesome.
It's a public school for immigrant students, newly arrived immigrants
Wow.
to New York. So it's a 100% immigrant population, 100% English language learner population.
Okay.
And because they need to learn English to graduate in order to pass the state standardized exams, we actually have them start over in ninth grade.
Wow.
So as long as they're under 21, they can start back over in ninth grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And where did you go to college?
I went to SUNY Binghamton.
Okay.
But then I did my grad school at Teachers College, which is one of the grad schools
Right.
affiliated with Columbia
Okay.
here in
And
New York.
So, and was this what you kind of dreamed and wanted to do? Like this was your, do you know what I
No,
mean?
not at all.
Okay. Okay.
So it's actually the only school I've taught at. I did my student teaching. I was placed at this school.
Okay.
I didn't have a choice in what kind of school I was placed at. Just
Mhm.
this is where Columbia plopped me, and I enjoyed it. The principal liked me, and they offered me a job when student teaching was over, and I've been there working there since.
It's and I would imagine because you have such a wide array of students that, immigrants coming from all over,
Everywhere, yeah.
everywhere. So the language barrier has to be extremely difficult. I'm sure you've picked up on a lot of like different languages, all kinds of different traditions,
So
that kind of stuff.
I'm conversational, not fantastically, but I am
Okay.
conversational Spanish.
Okay.
For the most part, I can't say everything I want, but like if my students speak to me in Spanish, I know what they're trying to express.
Okay.
I've not been able to pick, and that's because I would say about like 60 to 70% of our students are Spanish speaking from various countries through Central and South America.
Okay.
Big Dominican population,
Sure.
but then we also have a lot of students from West Africa, so a lot of French speakers, a lot of Arabic speakers, some students from Yemen,
Wow.
a handful from Egypt, a handful from Bangladesh. We have some Bengali speaking students.
Wow.
Spanish is really the only one I've been able to pick up on.
Okay.
I found the other ones more difficult,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. I mean, have they kind of tried to teach you, kind of help you through this situation? I mean, the language barrier itself. I mean, talk about barriers right now. You're working remotely. You have a language barrier to a certain extent. You have the fact that they all have full-time jobs. I mean, dude, you are balancing like 95 plates.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, when you were actually teaching, live and in person in the classroom, what were some of the rewarding, what were some of those rewarding times for those students? Do you know what I mean? And then as opposed to now, obviously very, very different things, but what has been, equally rewarding for both of those kind of situations?
For in the classroom,
Yeah.
if we're like in terms of language, it's always, so imagine like you just moved to another country, you don't know the language.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be afraid to speak or even attempt it because they know that their accent's not going to be correct. They know people might judge them for how they speak or how they sound.
Sure.
And we always get students in that category where for a year they're just not going to try and speak English.
Yeah.
But often we'll stay with the same students for multiple years. So like I started in ninth grade and I moved through 12th grade with a cohort of students.
Wow.
Just to help maintain those relationships. And you might have a student that doesn't speak in English. They'll speak to you in their native language.
Yeah.
But they might not speak in English for a year or two, and then like all of a sudden it just explodes out of them.
That's amazing.
Like they're finally comfortable with it, and then they're fluent. You're just like, when the hell did you learn how to do that? Because you never showed it to me. That's always just a wonderful experience.
I mean, listen, I'm doing this on the show and I want to do it more. And it's because I grew up with teachers as parents. And I think that teachers don't get enough credit. I mean, I think teachers basically raise children. I mean, parents do a lot of the work, obviously, but teachers do a lot of work, especially, where you are doing continuing education kind of a thing. I mean, an unbelievably noble profession, but also an unbelievably important profession in welcoming immigrants into our country, right? Is making them feel at home. I mean, listen, man, I lived in New York for 2 years. I worked in restaurants and all over, and I worked with a lot of people from Guatemala, from El Salvador, and, I learned a lot of Spanish. The whole kitchen was run in Spanish, do you know what I mean? And I always found it just so, because, and I went to school in Pittsburgh, and we had a lot of people during that Serbian-Croatian war over in Yugoslavia come over and not speak any English, but they were brought to Pittsburgh and just assimilating via language. And like when we go to foreign countries, the culture shock is insane. And now they're here and they're living. So what you're doing is unbelievably important.
Thank you.
Yeah. So so your Instagram handle and your Twitter handle is Hey Listen Games, and you were featured in the Game Awards last year. How are you incorporating games into the classroom? Because I love this idea. As a game guy and as a person who loves competition and any kind of game, I love this.
Yeah. So I originally when I started teaching, I always wanted to find ways to bring pop culture stuff into my teaching, because just like we're better at our jobs when we incorporate things we're passionate about. So I
Sure.
was bringing when I taught about World War II, I was watching Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List, um, or using some of the X-Men comics around Magneto living during
Yeah.
the Holocaust, living through concentration camps, and I would find movies and comics frequently. I always made a point to have one comic or graphic novel that I would teach every year, and I
Mhm.
would definitely have one or two movies that we would watch alongside the standard curriculum stuff we're already
Sure.
doing. And eventually, I was just like, I got to find a way to bring in video games, because I had a video game club once a week, and a ton of students would do that. They'd come into my room during lunch, and they would be playing Super Smash constantly. I'm playing video games constantly when I'm home. So I was just
Sure.
like, I need to find ways to do what I was doing with comics and movies with video games.
Love it.
So I started off just kind of small. There's a game called one of the first games, and when I say video games, I'm not talking about educational games. I'm not talking about the Oregon Trail
Right.
or Math
But
Blaster. Just like not
but
games that
was
are trying to
Oregon
trick you.
was Oregon Trail educational? Like I feel like we just got in a wagon and tried to figure out how to not die of dysentery. Math Blaster is a total other
Yeah.
story, but yeah,
For Oregon Trail is like my teacher back. I think I was in like first grade
sure.
at the time, and it was like, "Oh, you're done with your work. Go to the computer in the back and play Oregon Trail."
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
it wasn't a lesson or anything.
No, not at all.
So I started using games like the Republia Times or Papers, Please,
Okay.
both made by Lucas Pope, who recently did Return of the Obra Dinn, which got a whole bunch of awards.
Awesome.
And one of them is about puts you in charge of a fictional nation's newspaper, and you control the headlines. And you're a propaganda machine basically. And you're trying to build loyalty in the country. And I was doing that in a small unit on propaganda and media literacy.
Okay.
And with Papers, Please, it puts you in the shoes of a border patrol agent, where you decide who can actually come in to your fictional country, and you're examining their passports, their documents, and everything, and you stamp yes or no whether or
Wow.
not they're allowed to come in.
Okay.
And that went over exceptionally well, especially with my students who are all immigrants.
Right.
And some of them were like 100% by the book, like no, you can't come in, or yes, you can come in, and other students were just like, no, let everyone in.
Right.
So it was just like very 50-50 depending on
Wow.
their own experiences moving to the United States. And these lessons were super engaging. So I started doing it more and more. I started building more fleshed out units and activities. And I teach US history now.
Okay.
So a lot of my lessons will be like, I'm teaching about gentrification in big cities. Is there a video game out there that I can use as an added text?
Right.
And there is this new game, or newish, called Donut County, free
Okay.
on Game Pass right now. I
Nice.
think.
Okay.
And I would bring it, we'd play it, talk about how this topic is represented in the game. And so that's in my history class. I went on and I, not this year because of the whole remote learning situation, but last year I taught an elective English language arts class. We were just analyzing video games as pieces of literature,
Okay.
the same way you would a poem, a short story, or a book. And I also have an advisory class, which is really, this is becoming more popular through the country. This
Okay.
wasn't a thing when I was a student. I don't know if it was a thing when you were a student, but it was basically sort of like homeroom, but it's all about social emotional check-ins, like seeing how the kids are actually doing
Yeah.
on a social emotional level.
That wasn't
So
in
I'll-
my school.
That wasn't right. My homeroom was like, okay, you're in the
You're
building.
here.
Go sit somewhere for 10 minutes.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'll play games like Celeste, which is all about overcoming adversity and having a growth mindset and talking about anxiety and depression. So I'll bring in games with thematically, just to have these conversations in a safe space, because
Sure.
not a lot of our students have opportunities to do so. And over the years, people told me that they were interested in trying this, but they didn't know where to look, because resources for this kind of thing don't exist
Yeah.
out there, really.
Okay.
So, inspired by actually some of your friends at Kind of Funny, they spoke about like how to break into the games industry, and if you're gonna do something different.
Yeah.
So I ended up making my website, Hey Listen Games, where I just throw up all of my lesson plans, all of my curriculum, my handouts, my slides, and all for free for any teachers who want to try
Dude.
teaching with a video game in their class, just that to act as a starting point, because a lot of people don't know where to start.
Amazing.
And these lesson plans, the handouts, they don't exist anywhere. So my site is to like that starting point. I'll blog on the site about how lessons go in my class, or my rationale for creating a lesson, what I'm thinking I'm gonna try and do with the game, and people seem to like it. My wife nominated me for the future class at the Game Awards, and I was
Good wife.
chosen
Good
amongst
wife.
50 people total for using games in unique and inclusive ways. And it's just been really cool to see a lot of people lately really wanting to find ways to use gaming in education.
It's awesome, man. I think, again, an amazing idea. It's amazing that you're giving it out to teachers. I know my mom was always searching for different ways to get people involved and stimulated, right? It's lesson plans can only do so much, and you can only be as good as the lesson plan sometimes, right? But when you're really testing the boundaries of what is capable, I mean, people are loving you in the chat. First of all, they're loving all that you're doing.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah. For me, listen, I was always like the competitive game guy. So it was like, if you could throw, I mean, I had a teacher. We had this game. It was so simple. You had a tape ball and you threw it in the trash can. And if you made it in the trash can, you could answer a trivia question about the lesson and move forward one space. And it was like the taped out space all around the classroom, right? So some of my more favorite memories of school were those games and those fun things. So I would imagine that,
100%.
right? And I would imagine that you are building such an amazing foundation for this, that these people that are learning from you are always going to have you a special place for you in their heart, because you've given them a different way of learning, right?
Right. And it's like, in that regard, I have one now former student from the Dominican Republic. He was in his senior year in the DR when he moved here, and basically had to start over in 9th grade with me. And he early on was not planning on graduating. He's like, I'm now 18. I should just get a job, help my family pay rent at this point.
Sure.
But he stuck it out, and especially as we use, and he's a huge gamer. So as we started using gaming more, he got actually into the class. He wasn't just there to just finally get that certificate, the diploma that he graduated. And in his senior year, he took that ELA elective course where we were analyzing video games as literature.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a kid who wouldn't write at all. He was fluent orally, but he would not write more than a sentence at a time. But writing about a video game, he started to write pages. Right? If I asked him to write an essay, or a review on a game, he would write a full fleshed out review about a game.
Right.
And he's now at a private university on a full ride scholarship for a game development program, and he constantly is texting me and giving me updates about this.
God, man, that's so awesome. It's amazing. It's brings a tear to the eye. I listen, man. These are the reason I want to bring teachers on more, because you don't get talked about enough, and what you're doing is so important.
Yeah.
And what that kid is doing now is going to change his life forever, man. It's going to change his life forever. Chris West in the chat, he's a really good friend of mine. He asked, Zach, my son is autistic. What would you recommend for him in terms of gaming? Do you have any recommendations for?
So he loves OG Nintendo games, I see in the chat. So I taught a lesson using Mario Odyssey, actually, about how, and you know your child better than I do, but look at how culture is used in the game, right? There's a level inspired by Mexico, there's a level inspired by Japan, and a level inspired by the French Riviera, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at how culture is utilized in the game and have conversations around that. I don't know the age of your child, but you could, if they're ready for conversations around, is this like are these positive representations? Is this cultural appropriation? But if they're already playing Mario games, right, these could be cool conversations to have around the use of culture in popular media and in gaming in general.
I love it. Yeah, he's 7 years old, Chris said. So
7.
Yeah.
Try. It's a little mature, but a game that I teach with every year is What Remains of Edith Finch.
Okay. What Remains of Edith Finch?
What Remains? It's a spectacular game. It's a walking simulator. So it is a little slow moving.
Okay.
but it's walking around, it's exploratory, it's all narrative, and it's just telling story, but it has a lot of different small vignettes in it that your kid might enjoy, like the different stories of different people in the family.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a game I recommend to everyone.
Okay. Trey T asks, I can imagine using You Don't Know Jack style games as a learning resource. Have you used any of those?
I have not used Jack style games.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't. I think are we talking about like Jackbox games? Is that what we're kind of getting at? Or am I?
Yeah. So the games that I use are always like mostly indie, but
Okay.
they're entertainment games. They're
Right
not
on.
games that are educational, quote unquote.
So Jonathan Curdy and Django's Got a Mango want to know, like, what were your favorite games as a kid? What were the games that got you into gaming? I mean, mine was pretty easy. It was the Kung Fu game and Mega Man. Those are my first two that were like, yeah.
So like my first foray into gaming was with the original Nintendo Entertainment System. My
Yeah.
uncle had given it to us for the holidays.
Great uncle.
Well, he bought himself the Super Nintendo when it came out and gave us his original Nintendo. So I actually skipped the Super Nintendo generation. I went from Nintendo to N64, but the original Mario's and Zelda games really.
Yeah.
Specifically, I mean, if you look at the name of my Twitter handle, the name of my website, Hey Listen Games, that's inspired from Ocarina of Time of Navi, who yells "Hey Listen" at you constantly.
Uh-huh.
And specifically, Ocarina of Time still holds up as my favorite game ever because that game was like my first social experience when it came to gaming. My brother and I had to play it together because neither of us were old enough to be able to beat it by ourselves. But then beyond that, this was back during like the GameFAQs days.
Okay.
Where like if you wanted to find info on a game, you had to go to GameFAQs. But even then, it wasn't as in depth as like the Reddits, the subreddits, and stuff that you can do today to find info on certain games. So it was like GameFAQs and then going to school and talking to other people about it.
Yeah.
It's like where did you go after talking to this guy or getting this? So it was a full social experience playing that game.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't online.
You know, it's kind of strange because I used to make a joke on stage about how easy it is for kids to get stuff now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really and truly, instead of actually talking to people in person, you're building this community online. So you're still getting the information. It's just you're getting the information from broad strokes instead of like you and your 8 buddies at the lunch table to be like, okay, did you beat the 3rd level of Mario? How did you do it? You got to do this kind of a thing, right? So there's that online thing. Do you think that, you know, after the pandemic and when we go back to normal, whenever that be, or some semblance of normal, do you think there will still be a large portion of you teaching virtually? Do you think that we've opened up a door, and do you want to do that?
I think virtual teaching is going to stay.
Okay.
I don't think I would personally be doing it, but I do think that there's going to be an option for students who need it, but they would probably just have a teacher dedicated to that position.
Okay.
Where they're teaching students from home or from wherever. But yeah, this is limiting to thousands of students with various tech issues and internet connections and Wi-Fi like access.
Yeah.
But it's also opened the doors to a lot of people who just can't necessarily function on our standard 9 to 5 workday.
Right.
So I do like it's not going to go away.
Okay.
But it won't, like, I won't stay home for another full school year.
Right.
Teaching like this.
And your wife is a teacher too? Am I mistaken in saying that?
She is. Yes, we're both teachers. We're both teaching from home in our small studio apartment. So she's on the other side of the apartment right now teaching her students.
Where did you guys meet in school, or have you been? We
did. We were in the same graduate school program.
See, there you go. That's how my parents met. Same thing, teacher graduate program. Crazy.
Yep.
What's, I guess, maybe short-term, long-term goals for you? Do you want to develop your own teaching video game? Are you in game development? I mean, you have a student now at a private university who you're very close with who's in game development. You guys could work together to do something. I'm sure you've talked about it.
Maybe down the line.
Yeah.
I think I like teaching a lot. I never, like, going into it, it was never something that I wanted to do forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a person who can just do the same thing for a long time. Like, even after 4 years of college, I was like, okay, I'm done with this.
Right.
And I'm now in my 7th year doing teaching, and I'm starting to get that itch to want to do something different.
Okay.
Ideally, I would love for a game developer who wants to start like reaching into schools and using their products and games in educational ways to like I'm here as like an educational program manager. Like I know Epic Games is starting to do this, especially with Unreal Engine and Fortnite.
Yeah.
Microsoft does this a ton with Minecraft. So I know that game developers are starting to try and create a bigger presence in school. So I would love to have that kind of role within one of those companies.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's almost like a genius next step for you is you've set this foundation for, you know, what works and what doesn't, I'm guessing. And I think probably the more important one is what doesn't work, right? So that you can focus on what does. And then you can, you know, spreading this, making it a viral sensation, if you will, but getting it into more and more schools so that this isn't just something that you do, that this is part of like a legacy that you're creating.
Right. And there are so many games that could have educational potential, but they aren't created in an accessible way.
Sure.
So like Ghost of Tsushima recently.
Okay.
Big, long game. All right. And I would love to use. Problem with the game like that is I can't spend 40 hours playing a game in class, It's not, right, to go through the whole thing.
Sure.
But if a game like that actually gave you options to like start here in the story or start here in the story, start here in the story, then you can just hop right in instead of me needing to play the entire game, create different save sets. Right. It's too much of a big ask. And then even simpler, the game has a wonderful haiku mechanic to write haikus in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to use this game mechanic that's beautiful. The aesthetic is wonderful with my students and have them write haikus together as a class.
Yeah.
The problem is, in my save file, if you did one already, it doesn't let you do it again.
That's
so I would literally have to replay through the entire game and then go to the haiku part for the first time with my students. If you just let me replay that moment.
You need that Mike Tyson punch-out code.
Amazing teaching resource.
You need that punch-out code. You need the you need the 9 digits. Yeah. Do you think have you maybe this is a twofold question. One, have you approached like the New York City school system about what you're doing and expanding it beyond your current? Because I mean, you're within the New York City public schools, correct?
Yeah.
Have you?
So I've spoken to some people. It's not. Like they're just trying to get comics to be a thing.
Okay, wow.
And I mean it's bureaucracy, so like that's going to take a long time on itself.
So do you think do you think working in a private school would be easier to do something like that, a charter school, something of that nature?
I mean, probably. I just don't necessarily want to work at a private school.
No, I get
unless they offered me a buttload of money. Yeah. But I just I like my union.
Yeah.
My union protects me and treats me very well.
Great. Yeah.
But I could see it happening at some point. I know, so like in my international school system for the other English language learner schools in the city, we have a yearly PD, professional development session, and this is actually next week. I'm going to run a course with other teachers about how to use games. So I do that occasionally, where I'm teaching other teachers how to do this.
You know, again, it's awesome what you're doing. I'll leave you with one last question, and then I know you've got the noble profession to get back to. My great grandparents came over from Italy, right? And they learned how to speak English by watching a lot of TV, right? Do you think a lot of your students are learning English and such through video games as well?
Yeah, I mean, not on their own, but that's because they hadn't thought to like. A lot of them will play the game in their language, So it's a tricky question. My students from West Africa generally play FIFA or NBA.
You're right.
That's what they're playing. Very few of them have actually played like adventure narrative focused games. And my students from the DR are, especially on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But they've typically played the game in Spanish.
Okay.
I've started egging them to like, no, play the game in English. Put on English subtitles, right?
Yeah.
That's the perfect way for you to engage with English outside of school, because I know that you live with everyone else who speaks Spanish, so they're not speaking English outside of school that much. So they need that practice outside of school setting as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them do it through video games. Watch Netflix in English. Put on the subtitles. Whatever you're doing, just put on English subtitles. Read it.
I mean, makes sense to me. It's when I lived in Europe, when I lived in Italy, we watched a ton of Italian TV, and I feel like I picked up a decent amount of slang anytime
Yeah.
that was always my favorite thing, was trying to engross with locals. And I think that, here in the United States, it's a lot. We tend to separate way more than we tend to come together as far as, other cultures go. And when I've worked in restaurants or I've worked with other people that speak other language, I've always been Mr. Questions, right? One of the guys I worked with at Fresco by Scotto on 52nd and Madison in New York called me Mr. Questions, because I would go down there and just ask him a million questions about El Salvador and his language and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think we ask enough questions. And I think what you're doing and urging people on is, asking those questions, making it more difficult, but also, learning is very important. Never stop learning, right? And I think
learning should be fun. It doesn't.
You're right.
I have so many issues with our system of education.
Agreed.
But as do millions of teachers.
Yeah.
But it should be fun. It doesn't need to be, I need to pass this test. I need to pass this test. I need to pass this test, the way that it has been for a while now.
Yeah.
My education was boring.
Totally.
I had one. My physics teacher was awesome.
Yeah.
He was great. It was all experiments, all hands-on things. And that's the class I remember. Even though I struggled a lot in that physics class, it didn't matter that I was struggling. It was fun to engage with it.
I 100% agree with you. I remember a lot of my teachers that did the interesting stuff that helped the students in a way that, again, pays it totally forward forever. I'll give a shout out to my mom. She was an American history teacher, 5th grade, right? She taught all that kind of stuff, and she had a colonial day every
Elementary
year.
school. Oh my God, I can't imagine teaching elementary school.
I mean, it's brutal. But every year she did a colonial day, and every year she sewed a new colonial dress, right? And she did all these colonial things so that the kids could get a sense of what it was like in colonial. That little thing. Weirdly enough, when I was in college, I have an interesting last name. So people, when they hear it, they're like, "Was your mom a teacher?" And I said, "Yeah." And they were like, "We still remember Colonial Day." That's the kind of thing that pays it forward. And I can guarantee you, your students are like, "Do you remember Mr. Hartsman?" I don't know if they call you Mr. Hartsman, if they call you Zack. I don't know what they call you. What do they call you?
We Mr. Zack. So because first names are typically easier to pronounce than last names, so we just go with first names.
Mr. Zack. I love it.
Yeah.
Mr. Zack, I guarantee you they remember Mr. Zack forever. So thank you for what you're doing, Zack. Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course.
Good luck with anything. And again, if you ever want to come back on, if you're working on something or you've got an amazing story, please come back. You're welcome here anytime.
Absolutely, anytime.
Anytime, buddy. Thanks, you, Zack Hartsman. Keep up the great work, man. The teacher feature right here on the Positivity Report. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for being here with me today on a Thursday, January 28th. I got to give a shout out to my aunt and uncle. My Uncle Dan is my godfather. My Aunt Cindy, his wife. They're amazing people. They live back in Pittsburgh, in New Brighton, Pennsylvania. My Uncle Dan is the funniest person on the planet. When I did a stand-up show in Pittsburgh, I had him open for me, and he just did dad jokes the whole time. Mark Riley, it was awesome. It was incredible. Like, he just is laying down dad jokes at the Pittsburgh Improv. It was amazing. It was so good.
When was this?
This was in like 2013, 2014.
2013. Yeah. You should have been taking notes then.
I know. And then he had me come, and I did a stand-up show at the Oak Hill Vets, which is the local bar in New Brighton, Pennsylvania. My uncle owns the Backdoor Tavern, which is in Fallston, PA. In New Brighton, a lot of people go to the Oak Hill Vets, which is, you can still smoke cigarettes inside, which...
Ooh, fancy.
Who knew? Yeah. So my uncle's like, "Why don't you come and do stand-up?" So I was there in the summertime. I did an hour and a half of stand-up. He opened for me, crushed for 15 minutes, and I did an hour and a half. And then I was like, "Does anybody want some more Uncle Dan?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, more Dan!" Because he's a bartender at the Oak Hill Vets. He was a teacher.
Perfect.
He was a teacher for 30 years, retired, and then became a bartender at the Oak Hill Vets. Because when you retire, I know my mom is bored. I know she's bored because she calls me all of the time, and she tells me just golf stories, which I love. I love a good golf story, Mark. But I can tell that she's bored.
This is my mother.
Yeah.
She's retired, a teacher.
Yep.
Calls me, not with golf stories, just calls.
Yeah.
And we call her Bored Julie. Because she's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm at work."
Yeah.
"What are you doing?" "Nothing." "Okay."
I never know what you're doing. Yeah, that's the point.
You
working.
haven't called me
Yeah.
lately. I called you yesterday.
Chris West says, "Bring Uncle Dan on the show." I would love to bring Uncle Dan on the show. He doesn't know how to work technology at all. He texts from my aunt's phone. That's how much he hates technology. And I want to thank everybody for saying such nice words in the comments for Zack. An extremely, extremely powerful guy, and what he's doing is amazing. And I'm bringing on more teachers in here. So thank you all for being just the best. And I know you would be the best because the people that we're cultivating here, the people that are joining, the people that are always in here are good people. It's the Good People Association. But anyway, so my Aunt Cindy and Uncle Dan texted me this morning, happy birthday. We love you so much, nephew. I didn't have the heart to tell him it's tomorrow. I didn't have the heart. I just said, I love you too. Thank you so much for the birthday. I just didn't have, you know? It's so much easier to just be like, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten a parent to call you or text you early or late on your birthday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad does it all the
Ikaika
time.
with the paddle, the Hawaiian hunk.
I remember
Aloha means hello.
one birthday. I think it was like 5th grade or something. So like my mom, like normally when it's my birthday, because I had a bunk back then in elementary school, and she would like, if it wasn't my birthday, normal morning, she'd be like, Ikaika, wake up from downstairs, and I'd wake up. On my birthday, she would come to my like bed and like pat me on the head. She's like, wake up, happy birthday.
Oh.
And then like take me to school or whatever. On my birthday this year, I hear, Ikaika, wake up. I was like, what the hell? She's like, get ready. I don't say anything. I get in the car. I'm waiting for my mom to be like, to like say happy birthday. She drops me off in the front of school. She's like, bye, have a good day.
Uh-oh.
And then like I was like, oh, she forgot. So then
Ikaika's 16 candles.
so then about like an hour later, I hear
Is your
Ikaika-
birthday on April
No,
Fool's?
no, December 3rd. So then an hour and a half later, I hear on the speaker, GPACharity, please come to the office. I was like, what did I do? And everyone's like, ooh. I go there. My mom's there with cupcakes. She's like, I'm sorry, I forgot to say happy birthday. And then so I gave cupcakes to everyone in class.
That's
great.
what a wonderful story.
That's
Ikaika.
great.
That's
That's the best.
That's hysterical.
My favorite birthday story of like my mom missing it, since we're on the top, is so
I got one.
it's not, she didn't miss it, but what happened was hysterical. So my parents went to Pitt, right? My parents were Pitt grads. Pitt doesn't like Penn State, okay? They just, Pitt, it's a rivalry.
Yeah.
All my aunts and uncles went to Penn State, okay? For a birthday, my Aunt Sharon, who was on the show yesterday, we called her about the Cavapoo, okay? She gives me a Penn State long sleeve t-shirt. I'm like, oh, this is great. I wake up the next morning for school. Everybody came over on a Sunday. Usually my birthday rolled around like Super Bowl Sunday. So we'd have the birthday on Super Bowl Sunday. And Monday wakes up. I think I'm in like 9th grade, 8th grade. Like I'm not young. I'm not an infant or anything, right? So I wake up and I was like, Mom, I want to wear that Penn State shirt to school. And she's like, did you lose it? And I was like, I can't find it. She's like, unbelievable. Your aunt get you that nice gift. My mom returned it. She returned the shirt.
Why?
Because she hated Penn State.
Right.
No son of hers was going to wear Penn State. And guess where Josh ended up going to school?
Penn State.
Correct. Yep.
My father once called me 3 days early.
3 days?
3 days. May 15th. I'll always remember this. 3 days, and argued with me saying, I was there, I know. And I go, Dad, no, it's in 3 days. He goes, no, wait a minute. And I went, wait, no, are you serious? Is this a joke? I believe I was 15. It was like around 15 or 16.
It's been 15 years of birthdays.
Yeah, no, it was, and God, I'm trying to remember the exact age because he was away and we were celebrating later. But I'm like, Dad, 3 days. He goes, I think I would remember. I go, okay, and I don't know how it was resolved, but it was hysterical. It was hysterical.
Just the best. Again, thank you, Zack Hartsman, for being on the show. let's get through the rest of we're running up against it. Tomorrow on the show, Mark Ellis in studio, hanging out. Can't wait to see him. First Positivity Report and The Beeve coming direct from upstate New York, raisingwildny.com. The Beeve is in the house. He's going to build a dam. He's not going to be here live. He's coming live from a other camera. And thank you for Nancy. I'm going to make sure that we're all confirmed for tomorrow. Okay, so real quick, yesterday was Holocaust Remembrance Day, and because of the internet thing, I just got all flustered, and I forgot to bring it up. But I wanted to bring up a story I saw on Instagram and then on TikTok and all this stuff. There was a gentleman by the name of Sir Nicholas Winston, who, during the Holocaust, saved 669 children in the Holocaust, brought them to Britain, found them families. And there was an unbelievable video that was going around, and I was crying, is that he was brought on because they were going to feature, he was a knight, so they were going to feature him on this TV show, but he had no idea why. And in the background, during the show, everybody stood up, and apparently the entire audience was the now adult kids that he saved from the Holocaust. Did you see that?
Before, yeah.
Unbelievable story. So look it up. Sir Nicholas Winston. Look up the video. It was on Tank's Good News, and it was on Erasing Hate. So check it out. Just an awesome, awesome story. Basically, the guy needs to have a movie about him. I mean, basically Schindler's List, but smuggling children out of the Holocaust. Just an unbelievable story. Garrett Farney, good friend of the show, golf pro in Chicago, one of my buddies, he gave me a dad joke. And here's your dad joke of the day. Are you guys ready? Bring it on. I need to have these queued up better. Son of a bee sting. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Hey, Mark. Hey, Kaika.
Yeah.
Why did the golfer change his pants?
I know.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Because he had a hole in one.
He did. He had a hole
Yes!
in one.
I knew it.
Yeah, he did.
I've heard that. Somebody's given that one to me. I think it was
That's a
my
good
dad.
one. That's a good one. All right. Here we go. All right. Your word of the day. I'm going to give this one to Ikaika. Your word of the day.
Okay.
Can you guess it? Eupeptic. Eupeptic. I would ask Mark Riley, but I think this is an insult to him. Eupeptic.
It's an insult to him.
It's an insult
Okay,
to
now I
Mark
got it.
Riley.
I'm not gonna think about that. You
In 3, 2,
clumsy?
1. Ooh, we were looking for relating to or having good digestion or a consequent of air.
I knew
of
exactly
healthy
what it
good
meant.
spirits. Sorry. Impossible.
It's positive
It's a positive.
to shine a light on my digestion issues.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. Oh, my God, it makes me uncomfortable. Okay. Ikaika, let's do question of the day real quick. I said, if aliens all look the same, what celebrity would you like them to look like? Now, we got a lot of Rocks. We got a bunch of Tom Cruises. We got a lot of Nick Cages. Vincent Schiavelli, the classic. If you guys don't know who Vincent Schiavelli is, look him up. Kaika, you could have brought up a picture. It's my bad. I should have told you earlier. But my favorite one came from our buddy David Taylor, who said all the aliens should look like Ernest. Ernest goes to jail. Yeah. Ernest saves Christmas. I agree. That's the one I agree with. Real quick, Jeopardy in a minute. Okay, great show, tight show. Brian's still winning. It's over $140,000 now. He's doing a job. He's a very smug guy, but hilarious, and he talks out of the side of his mouth, and he claps like this in front of his face, like very high clap. Like this. It's pretty funny. A celebrity question. They read the question and they put up a picture of Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle. Not one of them knew who Dave Chappelle was via the instrument.
Oh, that.
It was like 10 o'clock at night right before I went to bed. Amanda's like, stop screaming in bed. I was like, they didn't know who Chappelle was.
That's cringy. That's like.
Did he even say I'm Rick James?
No, nothing. No, it was. They said something about him doing something. Oh, it was. This comedian turned actor showed his chops in A Star Is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. And they showed a picture of Dave Chappelle. Not one of them got him. It wasn't like these people were my dad's age or older. They were all in their 30s and 40s. None of them knew Dave Chappelle. I was heartbroken.
Uncultured swine.
Uncultured.
Uncultured swine.
All right. You guys ready for some positivity? The positivity of Twitter. Here we go. This one comes from Chris Arnold at Chris Arnold Inc. My wife is a teacher, and apparently one kid has been changing his name to Reconnecting during the Zoom lessons so that he doesn't get asked any questions. Been doing it for weeks. The lad doesn't need to worry about his education. He's already a bona fide genius. Let's be honest. All right, I know today's the teacher feature. That's pretty funny. That's some pretty positively funny stuff.
Wait, we got to hire this guy.
I know. Genius. This is the kind of
great.
stuff that my brain doesn't, I'm too stupid to think that far in advance. That's why I don't play chess, Mark Riley. That's why I don't play chess.
I don't know chess at all.
Good. Let's do some videos that make me smile.
Do you want to do the picture first?
Oh, yeah, let's do the picture. Okay, so my friend Rachel Hafner, she lives in New Orleans, and she was one of my sister-in-law's best friends. She was in my brother and sister-in-law's wedding. She sent me this picture, and because this year, look at this picture, Mark Riley. Plays perfectly off Jeopardy because they can't do Mardi Gras this year in New Orleans because last year Mardi Gras was the original super spreader event. This person, so people can walk by and they're doing like an event outside their house and they basically they're turning the houses into floats, because every neighborhood in Mardi Gras isn't just one day. Mardi Gras is weeks of parades and dances, and all these neighborhoods have different floats. So these people are turning their houses into floats. So they painted their house and put it up like a Jeopardy board. How cool is that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just awesome. Love it so much. Everybody's staying positive out there. We're getting through it together. We can't do Mardi Gras. We're still making Mardi Gras happen in our own little way. Celebrate the small victories, guys. Celebrate the small victories. Again, tomorrow, Mark Ellis is going to be on the show. The Beeb is on the show. Let's do some videos that make me smile. guys, I'm pretty much turning into a pop star in this show. I don't know
You
if
are.
you guys know this, but all my songs are going to be #1 hits on Spotify. All right, so this is great. This is like Tony Soprano in The Sopranos. So my dad made a new friend while quarantined. Look, he's made best friends with his duck.
Oh, that
Look,
duck.
look, the
that
duck's
duck
like his
doesn't
best
want
buddy.
to go. Yeah.
He turns around and he throws him into the pool, and the duck lands. How friggin' adorable is that? This is the kind of stuff that. This is why you have a pool in your backyard. I mean, let's be honest. You hope a duck shows up.
I
And
had
you
a
hope
duck.
You hope you become friends with the duck.
I had a duck
See?
growing up, rubber ducky. We at mom's.
Yeah.
We a little duckling. We found it. It was hurt. We took it home. We nursed it. It was in the pool, and then we let it free in the wild
Boom.
at a park. Like maybe a year later. It was great.
Awesome.
Rubber ducky.
Rubber ducky. Let's do it.
You're the
Next
one.
video, Ikaika. We had a scare. Okay. Now, you were going to explain this to me, Ikaika. I'm so intrigued by this. How is this happening? Is he floating?
Oh my
Okay.
lord!
If you look
Wait.
at this right
Okay.
here,
Yeah.
it goes into his sleeve,
Okay.
and he's wearing a chest piece that holds. It's like a steel rod.
Oh.
So, because there was a guy on America's Got Talent that did something like this, and he like stood off the ground for a second. We're like, oh, how would he do that? And then
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I
So
still
it's
don't
like-
know how he did it.
it's like it holds his whole body support. It's probably like
Very heavy.
yeah.
Okay.
That is still pretty cool. Terrifying. And if I was there, and I think this is in Scotland, I'd walk right by and scream. But this is pretty cool to watch in video because I know that I'm from a distance because it's sorcery. I mean,
Well,
it still looks like a sorcery.
He's still sending his spells through the
Yes.
internet towards you.
Django's Got a Mango says, no, it's magic. Daniel Medina, it's a witch. You're right.
All right, and
All right, one more vid.
we got two more.
Oh, two more. Hit it.
Here is the
Okay.
Whoa!
They went on a road trip in Iceland. This makes me look how fun this looks.
Holy.
I'm telling you, this is like some of the craziest stuff you'll ever. Maybe it may look insane, but why not? If it's somewhat safer and you're like, when are you ever gonna get this chance again? Go out there and live the extreme.
I mean,
there's
Right?
there's a place on Honolulu that's super windy too.
I've been to apparently the windiest place in the world is in Tarifa in Spain. It's the kite surfing capital of the world.
oh,
And we went there and we tried to have lunch in an outdoor restaurant. And I just got sandblasted the whole time. Ikaika hit it.
I don't like sand.
Thank you.
It's coarse,
yeah.
rough, and irritating. And it gets everywhere.
Does get
It's true.
everywhere.
It's true. All right, final video. Videos that make me smile.
That's a
Videos
That's a
that make me
good-
smile.
good transition.
You got it.
Here we are.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is young dad.
Oh.
This baby's giggling too much to eat. Come on. The dad's now giggling too. Come on. You ever been like so drunk with your buddy that you can't put the piece of pizza in your mouth because you're giggling so hard? Or you get like a late Come on. Come on.
Oh my God.
Videos that make me smile.
I think before the video, someone said butterfly.
Butterflies.
Oh my goodness. Guys, it's a Thursday, January 28th, here on the Positivity Report. Can't thank Zack Hartsman enough, not only for coming on the show, but really for doing what he's doing. An amazing teacher out there. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I have a lot of emails to get to for the teacher feature. We will get a teacher on here next week, maybe 2 a week. There's so many emails. I've got it. Oh, a kike with a paddle.
You remember you didn't do question of the day yesterday?
I did question of the day today.
Did you?
Said, yeah, if aliens came and
Oh, yeah.
they all look the same, what celebrity they would look like? Oh, I forgot to say, we only got one Salma Hayek. If I'm choosing, all the aliens should look like Salma Hayek. Homosiac or homosiac?
That's a word. Now it is.
Go.
We have a Streamlabs that came
we
in
do.
here.
Good,
Aaron
good.
McLean.
Aaron McLean.
I know your name now because you also go by Solskjaer.
Oh, that's Solskjaer.
Solskjaer.
Solskjaer, 1999. They write Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney
Rob McElhenney, yeah.
yep, have bought my little local soccer team,
No way.
Wrexham FC. Heyo, here we go.
Where is Wrexham FC?
Yeah, Wrexham, WREXHAM.
Wrexham.
FC.
Wrexham.
Wrexham.
It's Solskjaer. If you're still in the chat, can you tell me where in England that is? Because sounds awesome. And by the way,
Congrats, that's
well,
awesome.
I brought it up on Monday with Jake Baldino. Watch Mythic Quest. on Apple TV. It's hilarious. And also, last night, I got to tell you before we leave, started watching. I mentioned it yesterday briefly, but I started watching the new Saved by the Bell. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now, besides the opening song being a little off because it's more of like an updated version of it, it kind of throws you off a little bit. But I got to be honest, this show is hysterical. Like it
Really?
I'm telling you, totally out of left field. Nobody's talking about it. Unbelievably, it pokes so much fun at how bad the comedy was in the first Saved by the Bell. Even though it's a good, I mean, listen, it's Saved by the Bell. We can go back and look at the cheesy nature of how bad
It was
the comedy
so
was.
bad.
But the comedy writing in this show, I mean, Amanda and I have giggled out loud at every episode.
Oh, good.
It's hilarious. Last night they brought back Zach and Kelly for the first they're in the show sort of, but it's more Slater and Jesse Spano that are main characters in the show.
Got it. Okay.
And,
Are they together?
No, they're not together. They're
Aw.
not together. And, who knows? It might happen. But
Okay.
it's on Peacock, and I think Peacock is absolutely crushing it right now. Peacock's super underrated. It's where you can watch Yellowstone. You can watch AP Bio, which is one of the most underrated comedies of all time. But the Saved by the Bell reboot, Mark Riley, very, very funny. And last night, the line that totally got me is like, oh, it's a shame Screech can't be here. He's living the dream up in the space station with Kevin. Kevin was the robot that he built in Saved by the Bell, and Screech will never be on TV again because the guy was like in jail and then he did porn.
Oh God.
I mean, they're not. You can't. I think it's a total.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ikaika. What do you got?
Good news
buddy?
for you also. WWE Network is going to be on Peacock. So.
All right, and that is the positivity
Oh, there
report
it is.
for. Thanks, Ikaika. I appreciate that. Trying to get his wrestling propaganda in here.
I don't watch wrestling. I'm just saying.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, we see you
sure
watching
he does.
wrestling.
Guys, tomorrow, Friday, Mark Ellis, the Beeve in studio. This is the Positivity Report. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for being kind people. Thank you for being amazing people. The GPA.fund to support the show. Streamlabs, Super Chats today, 4:30 p.m. The afternoons with Josh and Ken. And we'll be twitching some games a bit later today. So twitch.tv/goodpeoplegpa. Thank you as always. Be good people. Find the good. It's a way easier to be loved than hate. And we will see you tomorrow.